All right. Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you so much for joining our webinar. My name is Pavel. I'm technical support team lead here in ROGII. And today with my colleague, Trey, we'll show you some interesting stuff, some new features of StarSteer 2024.1. StarSteer version, this one new version, will be released next Monday. And especially for you, only for you, I'm going to share this link to the StarSteer. You'll be able to download StarSteer before the actual emails from account executives. So it's going to be available on Monday. So feel free to download it on Monday and use it and have some fun. All right, so we're going to talk about a lot of stuff here today. We're going to talk about different changes to gridding algorithms. We're going to talk about well filters, absolutely fantastic feature. Also we'll talk about custom formatting and many other new features we have in StarSteer. As usual, you have the chat here in Teams. You can ask questions there. I'll take or Trey will take a look. Oh, by the way, let me just give some permissions to Trey. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, awesome. So yeah, Trey will keep an eye on the chat and let me know if I missed something. All right, so let me just turn off the PowerPoint and actually show the StarSteer. So we will start with map view and with mapping algorithms. So before we do the mapping algorithms, let me show you a couple of cool features in the map view. So as you know, the previous version, we introduced displaying gamma ray or logs in general in the map view. And today, if you turn on the logs in the map view, I'm just turning on the gamma ray. I'm going to turn on ROP. Boom, boom. If you zoom in, you will see now you can fill the logs with colors, which significantly will increase simplify the visual analysis of your data. Let me just move the ROP log to the right side so they do not overlap. Yeah, beautiful. So now you can display logs and fill them with color on the map view. All right, and let's move on onto the mapping algorithms. So I want to show you something on the cross section actually. So let me switch to the cross section of one of the wells, and you can see here 3 grids created from interpretation: Upper and Lower Eagleford and Buddha. And the problem you might see in your projects also, if you don't have much data outside of your wells, outside of your actual input data, these grids can intersect, right? And you want to avoid it. So if you go now into the mapping mode, let me just turn on the parameters for my Lower Eagleford, for my green grid here in my cross section. I can select the trends. Well, it's not new, but let me show you. I can select the Buddha trends here. So outside of my input data, my Lower Eagleford grid will follow the Buddha, right? So let me just update real quick. Boom. Yeah, awesome. Now it doesn't cross the Buddha grid, but now it crosses the Upper Eagleford grid, which is again bad. We want to avoid it right now. So what we can do right now in 24.1 is to select 2 trends at the same time. So I'll select Buddha trend and Upper Eagleford trend, 2 checkboxes, and let's update the grid. And what StarSteer does here, he basically does the proportional gridding, which means he will take into account the changes in thickness in between these 2 selected grids and place the resulting grid in between them. So if the resulting grid is closer to the top grid, it will be more similar to the top grid. If it's closer to the bottom grid, it will be more similar to the bottom grid. Not only that, not only we can just control our gridding with 2 grids at the same time, we also do some fine tuning with anchor points. So let's go back to the map view and I'll display let me just turn off the logs to make it less busy. Okay, let me turn on my Lower Eagleford grid. And also not only I will display grid, but I will also display some faults. So here are my faults. And now I want you to focus on that area. So that area in between these two major faults, I don't have much data here, right? So I have only basically 3 wells here, but nothing here. And well, I can assume that the depth of my grid should be quite in this area, should be quite similar to these wells, right? That's, well, the only data I have, right? So I want basically to copy or take the depth from this area and to add some extra points here. So this is what our anchors point can do. Anchors point is basically some fake tops, what you can add to the maps, to the grids, basically in the map view. Super easy. So how it works. So I click on the edit anchors button here at the mapping mode. And if I click somewhere on the map, it will read the depth of this particular point. So it's like minus 10,880, let's say 85. All right. And now I can click again, and paste those numbers here in between these two faults as I want to make like structure more geologically correct, let's say. And now if I update my grid, take into account anchors, you can see here that there are new so-called like a type of objects, well, internal objects, right? Oops, I updated not the correct grid. Let me fix it one more time. So again, I'll just repeat it here. So I just click on my grids. I read the depth here, and I add more points with the same depth in between these two faults. Okay. Of course, not ideal. I might add some more points to fine tune and just to place my depth in between these two faults more precisely, but you get the idea, right? So you basically can create additional points. Of course, you can always go back, change the depth of these points manually. You can move them around, basically changing and controlling contour lines if you want to, not directly, but like to some extent, right? So yeah, the anchor points basically allows you to create fake tops super fast at any point on your map view and in your grids. Awesome. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, please send them in the chat. Trey will let me know if I missed something. Let me just now keep working in the map view. And let me just turn off the grids, turn off the faults. I don't need it right now. But I need to show you something interesting with sticks, with well planning. So let me just turn on my lease polygons here. I will work with lease, let's say 28. As you remember, in previous version, we created the new well planning improved well planning functionality, where you can very easily create a new area for your planning, put your drilling area in some lease polygon here real quick. Nothing new here. So let me do some well planning, creating sticks real fast using our accordion tool. Okay, love it. What we've added in the 24.1 version is now we have ability to work with sticks directly. So what I can do right now is you can see the sticks here in my lease 28. If I click on the stick 1, I can now edit stick directly on my map view. So I can add some additional points to make that actually my stick be more realistic or according to my plan. I can add some points here. Of course, I can add some surface hole location now interactively, clicking on this orange circle. But not only that, we can do some fancy stuff with all 4 sticks together. So if I select all of them at the same time here, as you can see here, we now have operations for sticks. And for example, I messed up my direction of my sticks, so I can change and flip landing point and TD with one button. Cool. I can just, of course, click again and revert it back to the original position. And if I have all my sticks selected, I can click new surface hole location, and all 4 sticks are going to be connected into one common point. Of course, nothing stops me to go again to one particular stick and let's say edit stick 2, change the surface hole location. Of course, I can edit and move it around, no problem with that. But not only we can place and modify the stick on the map view, we can also place the future planned well in between or near some grids. So for example, for stick 2, I want this stick to be in between two grids, Upper Ilford and Buddha. So I select them here with using this option between grids, and I apply that. Like click on this button. Well, nothing happens in the map view, obviously. So we need to go into the cross section and see the results. And let me just create a well plan or well for my stick 2. Okay, it's here, perfect. Let me just switch to the cross section and switch to my stick 2 and display the results. So as you can see, my landing point is placed exactly in between two grids, the Upper Ilford and Buddha, and my TD is placed in between these two grids, exactly in between. And it's connected by, well, straight line. We don't stop that. We don't stop here, because in the 24.2, we're going to introduce multi-point target line. Will basically allow you to create those complex curved target lines to place your well plan in between two grids directly from the well planning for well planning mode. But for now, it basically has 2 points, like the landing point and TD, and connects these two to stay in between two grids. Okay. Let's go back to the map view. And now I'm gonna show you some interesting stuff with the well filters. So for now, let me just turn off the sticks so we do not get distracted by some extra data. Okay, so if you go now into the group tree, you will see a new folder called well lists. This thing is super, super powerful to organize your data and to analyze your data more efficiently. So how it all works. For example, I want to have a well list, the wells which are in the lease 4. So how can I do it right now? So I just go into the lasso tool, select lasso tool. I select my, how many? 4 wells. And now I just then drag and drop them into the well list folder. And now I have well list 2. So I can, for example, turn it on, turn it off, works like this. Awesome. But not only that. So of course, let me just rename it, by the way, so I know it's lease 4, right? Lease 4. Perfect. But also I can automatically create well lists based on the data inside wells. What I mean by that? So for example, I want to have a well list of wells which have both gamma ray and ROP log at the same time. So how can I do it right now? I select both of these logs. I right click on these logs, and now I have several options to work with well lists. Create a union well list, create intersection well list, and I can add the well list to another well list. So if I want to have a well list with wells which have both gamma ray and ROP, I need to click on create intersection well list. It's going to be named automatically by like well list with something. The same logic applies not only to logs, but to everything in your group tree. So I want to, for example, have the well list of wells with tops Austin, Upper Eagleford, and Lower Eagleford. Again, right click, intersection well lists. Now I have well lists with these wells. What I can do with this beast? So first of all, I can go into the object tree, click on this small button, small arrow, well lists, and now I can filter out data what I actually need right now. For example, I want to work in lease 4 for now. I don't want to see all our other like 100 and something wells in my object tree. So yeah, I just filter out everything. I have only my wells here. For wells, nothing is here. Folders, yeah, they're still here. But again, the wells itself, they're only here. I can turn off the object tree. I can, for example, look at the wells with particular top set, no problem, and not top set, like the grid horizons, right, from your tops. Works like this. Or another option, of course, is always, as always, we have in the StarSteer. If we right-click on this well list, you can open this spreadsheet and see the list of all the wells which are in this list. Of course, I can select multiple rows and delete them. I can drag and drop more wells into this well list if I want to. As I said, you can display, hide, for example. I just hide everything and then display the wells with gamma ray and ROP only. Okay, one well here, a couple of wells here. Okay, so I can very easily find them right now using those multiple well lists. So now what I can do also is to create correlation panel and display my 4 wells in my list number 4, right? We just created the well list. So I turn on the well list, I can see the 4 wells right here. Let me just display some data because we're gonna stay in the correlation panel for a couple of minutes. Because I want to show you some interesting stuff we implemented in the correlation panel. So yeah, we used well list to create the correlation panel. Awesome. Let me now display correlation panel and Geosteering View at the same time. That's important to show the new changes in StarSteer. So I have like 1, 2, 3, 4 wells here, and I want to display Yoska unit 3H in my Geosteering View. Okay, so traditionally, what we have is if you see your gamma ray here in your Geosteering View, and you see the gamma ray in your correlation panel, they look the same. So if I change the limits in one place, I'm going to change the limits in another place, right? You can see here. But in 24.1, revolution things. So we introduced and created so-called custom formats. It only works right now on the correlation panel, but we introduce more custom formats for all other wells, all other window types. So if you go into correlation panel, you will see the custom formats checkbox. If I turn it on, my data in this correlation panel now is independent and separated from the Geosteering View. What I mean by that, I can go now into correlation panel. I can change the limits of my gamma ray. I can go, what's unit 3H, right? Okay, 3H. I can go here. I can go into the custom log format, not log format, but custom log format tab and change the colors. I can change to remove some color fill. Yeah, but everything stays the same in the Geosteering View. So now we have basically 2 separate ways to set up formatting for correlation panel and separately for Geosteering View. And not only that, all the changes you've made to your custom view only visible to you. No one in your organization, because we are working right now in the solo project, no one in your solo project will see those changes. It's only your local changes to how you display data. No one will see them. If you want to go back and basically return back to the solo-wise formatting, no problem, of course. You can go back to the View tab and just disable custom formats. You'll see now they're going to match again. Boom. Yeah, now they match. So yeah, the custom formats is very, very cool thing to see and to use, basically to separate displays and not to disturb your colleagues with your custom formatting of your correlation panels. Because everyone has their own preferences, what limits to use, what colors to use. So yeah, you can now turn this on and work in your correlation panels and basically do not ask anyone else about your preferences, how to display some correlation panels. All right, let's keep doing some stuff in that well, actually. 24.1, we've introduced new folder inside TopSet. This folder is called zones. One second, let me just clean it up real quick. So zones is basically your portion of your well in between tops. By default, zones folder inside each topset folder is empty, but I can right click on this icon and just click add all zones. So I have 4 zones from 5 tops. Makes sense. And now what I can do with zones right now is to open the spreadsheet. That's basically it. Well, I'm kidding, but not really kidding. It's our first iteration of introducing the new type of the objects, zone objects. And for now, what you can do with the zones is basically do some analysis inside spreadsheets only. So what we can do right now, of course, we can add some zones, delete zones. They're kind of separate from the tops in terms of you can, for example, create a zone from very top to very bottom, no problem with that. So you can basically select horizons here. So there's no restrictions on that, what kind of zones you want to use. You can just skip one top to have like bigger zone and do some analysis. You can also add some offset. So for example, I want to have use my top plus 2 feet up and my bottom top minus 3 feet, like a bit bigger zone for analysis. What kind of analysis you can do right now? StarSteer calculates for you 2 things right now: is MD thickness, well, measured depth thickness, how long your well stayed in this zone, and vertical thickness, TVD thickness. Also, what you can do is to add new attributes. So for example, I don't know, if you have some information about the porosity, for example, and you have some information in some Excel spreadsheet, and we just copy it from Excel. Yeah, I can paste some information here. I can add more and more attributes. Oh, no zones, no zones. Okay, it's fine. Add more attributes. I can paste some information here. And probably that's basically it for zones for this release. In the upcoming releases, you'll see some additional options like to calculate some attributes for your zones, like, I don't know, average ROP per zone. There'll be like a calculator to run this equation. Or if you have like porosity data, average porosity per zone, you can calculate those things. You will be able to calculate those things inside StarSteer directly, and then, for example, create a map from these attributes. But that's for an upcoming release. As you know, we introduce some new feature and we increase the functionality, what we can do with them. But for now, zones basically is like they work with the spreadsheets directly. Talking about topset and working in solo projects where many people have access to your data. Now in 24.1, you can lock your topset. So if you right click on your topset 1, you can click on the lock button. You see this small lock icon here. And if you try to edit something, well, you won't be able to do anything actually. So if you even open the spreadsheet, everything is grayed out. Everything is not editable. You cannot change anything. The same thing applies to interpretation. So if I right click on the interpretation, I can lock the interpretation. You'll see this small, very small lock sign here added to the star sign. And if I, for example, go into geosteering mode, I won't be able to do anything. You see the stop sign appears if I try to do something here. So yeah, you can lock the data, you can lock topset, you can lock interpretation in your project. Okay, and yeah, a couple more things here. Well, we're actually going to stay in the Geosteering view for this particular well. Let me just hide the correction panel. As you know, we have a lot of products, beautiful products. Especially a cool one is the Starlight, when you can monitor your data live in using your web browser, and how people geosteer your data using your web browser or iPhone or Android phones. And we have a couple of interesting stuff going from StarSteer into Starlight traditionally. But in this release, we have it backwards. We have some new features from Starlight, which appear we're going to introduce in the StarSteer. And I'm talking about the widget. So now, if you go into the View tab in your Geosteering view, you will see the new widget checkbox. This widget shows the distance between your last survey to the well plan, start well plan, or to the distance to the target line. So I can click once, distance to the well plan, horizontal and vertical distance to the well plan. I click one more time, it's distance, vertical distance to my target line here. Of course, if I'm gonna change the target line, it will change automatically like this, switch to up and down. See those changes. Awesome. And if you want to see some details about the distances to target lines or well plans, you can click on this small button here, just like in Starlight, like exactly the same. You click here and you'll see the last 3 surveys of your trajectory, and again, distances to well plan and your target line. You can collapse it, you can hide it if you don't need it, but it's there for you. Also, we introduced some small change, but very interesting change for the well plans. So as you can see here, we have a well plan. I can turn on the drilling window here, the drilling corridor here. And usually we have the drilling corridor, which is like around the well plan. So 25 feet above, 25 feet below the well plan, right? But today, you can actually change the numbers to negative ones. So for example, if I change to the base corridor to -10, now I have the drilling corridor only above my well plan here. Let me just make it more like bigger. Okay, yeah. The drilling corridor is like above my well plan here. So now you don't need to move your well plan to make the better drilling corridor. Just basically type the negative values here and place your drilling corridor visually higher or lower from your well plan. And last but not least, the statuses, well streaming statuses. As you can see here on this Geoscience unit for H, it's very, very small sign, the red sign, that circle around this well. It means this well, we streamed the data from solo feed into this well, it says 28 minutes ago. So now if you have wells in your project, to which you stream data using solo feed, you will see those signs and like which well is active, how fast, and when was the last time the data was updated using solo feed in this project for this particular well. Again, it's kind of functionality from Starlight moving to StarSteer. So yeah, we got some great ideas from both products and combine them together. So yeah, now we have these streaming statuses, and you can just see the wells, active wells right away in your object tree. All right, so probably this is it. Actually, yeah, this is all new features. Well, 99% new features of the StarSteer. If you have any questions, do you have any questions, by the way?
No, I've got nothing in the chat.
Nothing in the chat. Okay. So as usual, if you have any questions, please ask them in the chat right now, or reach out to our amazing support team via phones or emails, or what else? Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that some topics we discussed today briefly, very briefly, about the grading algorithms, how we introduce the proportional mapping, this kind of stuff. We're going to talk in details about this kind of maths and algorithms, how we should probably use them for grading purposes in separate webinar. Please stay tuned, and we're going to post the updates when we're going to have these webinar a bit later in our website. I hope so. Yeah, and the same thing applies to well sticks. So yeah, we're going to have another webinar dedicated to the well sticks. Oh yeah, I totally forgot to mention one more thing about the well sticks. Now we have a special Python script where you can import your well sticks from PDFs, from your plats, directly from PDFs into StarSteer. I'm not going to show it right now how it works, but we have this script in 24.1. So once you download it, the link is in the chat. Once you download, you will see the new import plats or import well sticks directly from PDFs. All right. Any questions? Export well sticks as a shapefile. Good question. Good question. Very good question. And the answer is, let me just double check that. The answer is no. So the only way basically to, well, not in shapefile. Let me show you one more thing. If you ask this question, it's very important. We introduced the new syntax in Python for sticks, which means you can create sticks, you can modify sticks, you can read sticks in StarSteer. You can import sticks into StarSteer. Import into StarSteer. And therefore, if you can read data using Python, you can always export data using Python from StarSteer. We don't have this script yet, but yeah, if you're interested in creating this, please just reach out to our support team. We'll be happy to help you creating the script for exporting data using Python. But it's already there, so you don't need to do anything manually. I was thinking about like creating like opening spreadsheet, copying these kind of multi-point things. Yeah, it's too manual work. Yeah, we have Python right now. We can automate a lot of things with sticks. All right. Thank you so much for your time that you came to our webinar. We really, really appreciate it. And yeah, enjoy StarSteer 2024.1 next Monday. Thank you and have a good day.